You believe you have time. That quiet certainty is the most expensive thing you own, and you've never once been billed for it. Look at how today actually went. The project you swore you'd start sat untouched while you watched 3 more people do the thing you keep planning to do. You told yourself there's always tomorrow, and some part of you genuinely meant it. By the end of this, that part of you is going to be a lot harder to believe. Here's what nobody measures: the gap between how much time you think you have and how much you actually have. You move through your 20s like the clock is decorative, like it's there for the aesthetic. And your behavior, the real ledger of what you believe, tells the truth your words won't. Watch a single ordinary day from the outside. You wake up, reach for the phone, and donate 40 minutes to a feed engineered by people far more disciplined than you. Then a little guilt, then a vague promise to lock in later. Later arrives and you trade it for something easier. The day doesn't end dramatically. It just quietly leaks out, hour by hour, until it's dark and you're wondering where it went. Nothing went anywhere. You spent it. You just spent it the way a drunk spends an inheritance. Slowly, then all at once, on nothing he can remember. And the strange thing is, you'd never do this with money. Hand someone $20 and watch them set it on fire, and you'd feel something physical. Hand them a Saturday, and they'll shrug. Why does one sting and the other doesn't? Because money comes back. Time has a one-way door, and the door only swings shut. There's a number worth sitting with. If you're 25 and you make it to a normal old age, you've got roughly 3,000 weeks left. Not days, weeks. You could write every one of them on a single wall and stand back and see your whole remaining life in one glance. Most people have already burned through a third of theirs before they ever do that math. So here's the question that should bother you. If the supply is that small, why do you keep acting like the dealer's giving it away? You act like it's unlimited because acting otherwise is terrifying. If time were truly scarce, every wasted hour would be a small theft and you'd have to feel each one. So the brain does you a favor. It hides the meter. It lets you believe the tank is bottomless, because a bottomless tank means you never have to choose. And not choosing feels like freedom right up until the moment you realize it was the opposite. Think about what choosing actually costs. The reason you don't start the business, or the channel, or the training block, or the hard conversation is that starting forces a number onto things, and most people only force that number when someone else is counting with them. A few people I know use Pledge, Mastermind Circle, weekly stakes with a small trusted group, link in the description, for exactly that friction, and even then you might fail, and failure tells you exactly how much that dream was worth. Stay in the planning phase forever, and the dream stays priceless because it's never tested. Procrastination is protecting the fantasy, but the fantasy has a cost too, and it compounds in the dark. Every month, you keep the idea safe on the shelf. The version of you that could have built it gets a little fainter. You're not standing still. Standing still isn't an option on a moving timeline. Let me make this concrete. There's a kind of person you've definitely met online. Maybe you've been them. They've been about to launch for 2 years. The landing page is half built. The logo's been redesigned 4 times. They know more about their niche than people actually shipping in it. And they're stuck, genuinely stuck, because somewhere they decided that motion equals risk and stillness equals safety. They've got it exactly backwards. The risk was the 2 years. So what do you do with that practically, starting tomorrow morning? You stop treating time as a feeling and start treating it as inventory. Here's the shift. Most people manage their to-do list. Almost nobody manages their hours. Those are different sports. A to-do list is a wish. An hour is real estate. You have a fixed number of plots, and right now, you're letting squatters live on the best ones. The 2 hours after you wake when your mind is sharpest, gone to a scream. The hour after dinner when you could build, gone to autopilot. Audit where your prime real estate actually goes for one honest week. Write it down as it happens, not as you wish it happened. The number will embarrass you. Good. Embarrassment is just data you finally let yourself feel. Then comes the part most advice skips because it sounds less inspiring than it is. You will not out-discipline your environment. Willpower is a terrible long-term strategy, and anyone selling it to you has never tried to use it for more than a week. The people who seem impossibly consistent aren't grinding harder than you. They've built a life where the right move is the easy move. The phone's in another room, the gym clothes are by the bed. The work session is scheduled before the day can fill with other people's priorities. They remove the decision because the decision you have to make every single day is a decision you will eventually lose. This is also where I'll be straight with you, because pretending otherwise would be an insult. Some of your time isn't yours to command. Some of you are working a job you need, caring for someone who needs you, fighting something invisible that makes a productive morning sound like a luxury. If that's you, the answer is to white-knuckle nothing. The answer is smaller and more honest. Find the time that genuinely is yours, even if it's 40 minutes, and defend those minutes like they're the only ground you actually hold, because they might be. And 40 defended minutes a day aimed at one thing will outrun 10 scattered hours every time. That word aimed is the whole game, because here's the trap underneath the trap. You can stop wasting time and still lose if you pour all that reclaimed time into things that don't accumulate. Answering messages, tweaking settings, reorganizing the same files. Busy work is just procrastination wearing a hard hat. It feels like effort and produces nothing you can stand on later. So the test for any hour is brutal and simple. Does this build something that's still there next year? Skill, leverage, a body that works, an asset that earns while you sleep, a relationship that deepens. These compound, they sit in the bank and grow. Everything else evaporates by morning. You need more of your hours pointed at things that don't disappear. Picture two people, same age, same starting point. One spends an hour a night learning to actually ship, code, edit, write, design, whatever the craft is. The other spends that hour consuming people who already do it, which feels productive because it's adjacent to the work. A year later, the first one has a portfolio, a few hundred followers who trust their taste, and the muscle memory of finishing things. The second one has opinions. The gap between them didn't open all at once. It opened one quiet evening at a time, while neither of them felt anything happening. That's the cruel mechanics of compounding. It's invisible at the scale of a day, which is exactly why a day is so easy to throw away. You can't feel the interest accruing. You can't feel it leaking either. Both happen in silence, and you only read the statement years later. Someone will push back here. They'll say, the great stuff comes from rest, from wandering, from doing nothing, and that grinding every hour just burns you out and kills the spark. They're right, and it changes nothing. Real rest is itself a build. It repairs the thing you're going to use tomorrow. The scroll isn't rest. You know the difference because you felt both. You finished a real day off and felt restored, and you finished a wasted one and felt hollow. The body keeps a more honest ledger than the mind. Now, circle back to that ordinary day, the one that leaked out while you weren't looking. Run it again with this lens. The 40 minutes of morning scroll becomes 40 minutes on the project, and it's because you finally priced the alternative correctly. You saw the scroll for what it was, a withdrawal from an account you can never refill, and something quietly shifts when you start living that way. The anxiety you've been carrying, that low hum that you're falling behind, that everyone else figured it out, A lot of it is the sound of your own potential going unspent. It's the part of you that knows what it could do, watching you not do it. Feed that part one real hour and it goes quiet. Not because you accomplished something huge, because you finally kept a promise to yourself, and that's a debt you didn't know you'd been defaulting on. You don't get a warning before the door closes. The chance to start that thing in your 20s simply expires, silently. And you only notice the absence years later when you're explaining to someone why you never did it. Your reasons will sound exactly like everyone else's reasons. That's the part that should light a fire. Not fear of death, but fear of the speech. The one where you list, in perfect detail, all the time you had and all the ways you spent it on nothing. So here's the only move that matters. Pick the one thing. You already know what it is, you knew before I said it, and give it the first real hour of tomorrow, before the day fills up with everyone else's emergencies. Not the whole plan. 1 hour. Then do it again. 3,000 weeks sounds like a lot until you realize what a single defended hour repeated actually stacks into. You've been spending your life as if the bill never comes. It comes. It's just itemized in the things you didn't build, and it's handed to you slowly at an age when you can't argue the charges. But you're holding tomorrow's hour right now, unspent, still yours. Stop reading it like a receipt. Sign it like a deed.